Have you ever walked into a room and felt a strange heaviness, like the air itself is holding you back? Maybe you've been pouring your heart into your work, your relationships, or your dreams, but somehow, things just aren't moving forward. It's like you're stuck in quicksand, and no matter how hard you try, you can't quite break free. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and there might be something unexpected pulling you down. Today, we're rediving into a topic that S rarely talked about, but can shift the way you feel in your own space: the hidden impact of keeping dead plants in your home. It's not just about wilting leaves or forgotten pots, it's about the energy they carry and how they might be quietly shaping your life. Now, before we go any further, I want to pause for a moment and invite you to do something with me. In the comments below, share this Buddhist-inspired thought. Let go of what no longer grows and make space for life to bloom. It's a simple reminder to release what's holding you back. And here's the deal. If you stick with me until the end of this video, I'll share a practical step-by-step way to transform the energy in your home and invite growth, joy, and clarity into your life. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. So let's start with why this matters. In many spiritual traditions, from Buddhism to ancient Eastern practices, our surroundings are seen as a mirror of our inner world. Think about it. Your home is your sanctuary, the place where you recharge, dream, and start each day. But when you've got a dead plant sitting in the corner, its leaves brittle, its soil dry as dust, it's more than just an eyesore. It's like keeping a little monument to stagnation. In Buddhism, there's this idea of impermanence, that everything changes and flows. A dead plant, though, it's stuck. It's a snapshot of something that stopped moving forward, and that can subtly affect how you feel. Picture this. You walk into your living room after a long day. You're tired but hopeful, ready to unwind. Your eyes land on that sad, drooping plant you've been meaning to toss out for weeks. It's not just the plant itself, it's what it represents. It's the project you started but never finished, the goal you set but let slip away. It's like a quiet whisper of, "You didn't follow through." And over time, those whispers add up. They create a kind of emotional clutter that weighs on you, even if you don't realize it. In spirituality, especially in practices like feng shui, dead plants are seen as symbols of decay, pulling in energies that block growth and invite sadness. But here is the flip side. This isn't about guilt or beating yourself up for forgetting to water that fern. It's about awareness. It is about noticing the little things in your space that might be holding you back and making a conscious choice to shift them. I remember a friend of mine, Sarah, who was going through a rough patch. She felt stuck in her career, her energy was low, and she just couldn't shake this sense of gloom. One day, while we were chatting at her place, I noticed a row of dead succulents on her windowsill. They'd been there for months, she admitted, because she kept thinking they'd come back to life. We laughed about it, but then we got to work. She tossed those plants, cleaned the space, and added a fresh potted herb. Within days, she said her home felt lighter, like she could breathe again. It wasn't magic, but it was a small intentional act that sparked something bigger. That's what I love about this idea. It's not about overhauling your life or chasing some perfect spiritual practice. It's about small, meaningful choices that align your space with your intentions. In many Eastern traditions, like Buddhism, there's this concept of creating space for mindfulness. When you let go of what's no longer serving you, whether it as a dead plant or an old habit, you're remaking room for something new. It's like clearing out a drawer to make space for treasures you actually want to keep. And here's something fascinating. This isn't just spiritual fluff. There's a practical side to it too. In health-focused practices, like those rooted in Ayurveda or holistic wellness, your environment directly impacts your mental and physical health. A study I came across once talked about how cluttered or neglected spaces can increase stress hormones like cortisol. Dead plants, in a way, are part of that clutter. They're a visual reminder of neglect, and your brain picks up on that, even if you're not consciously thinking about it. So when you remove them, you're not just tidying up, you're telling your mind, "I'm ready for growth, I'm ready for change." Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, but it's just a plant. How much difference can it really make? And I get it, on the surface it seems small. But think about the last time you cleaned out your fridge or organized your desk. Didn't it feel like a weight lifted? That's the same principle here. Your home is an extension of you, and when you care for it, you're caring for yourself. In spiritual practices, especially in Buddhism, there's this idea of intentionality, doing things with purpose. Tossing out a dead plant isn't just about cleaning, it's about saying, I'm choosing to let go of what's not alive anymore. And speaking of letting go, there's something else worth noting. In many cultures, dead plants are seen as more than just an aesthetic issue. They're believed to attract stagnant energy. In feng shui, for example, anything that's lifeless or decaying is thought to disrupt the flow of qi, the vital energy that keeps things vibrant. It's like a dam in a river blocking the current. When you remove that dam, when you clear out the dead plants, you're letting the energy flow again. It's not about superstition, it's about creating a space that feels alive and supports your growth. So, where do you start? You don't need to be a spiritual guru or a plant expert. Just take a walk through your home. Look at your space with fresh eyes. Maybe there is a forgotten cactus in the corner or a vase of dried-out flowers you kept because they were sentimental. Ask yourself, does this feel alive? Does it spark joy or growth? If the answer's no, it might be time to let it go. And don't to worry. We're going to get into some practical steps later on to make this easy and even fun. What's really cool about this is how it connects to something deeper. In Buddhism, there's this teaching about non-attachment, not clinging to things that no longer serve you. A dead plant is a perfect example. It's not about hating the plant or feeling bad about it. It's about recognizing that its time has passed. By letting it go, you're practicing a kind of gentle release, which can ripple into other parts of your life. Maybe it's a habit, a grudge, or even a mindset you're ready to move on from. It all starts with something as simple as clearing out what's no longer alive. This brings us to another point that's so easy to overlook, but makes a huge difference. When you remove something dead from your space, you're not just taking something away. You're creating room for something new. It's like pruning a tree to help it grow stronger. That empty spot on your shelf, it's not just empty space, it's potential. It's a place for a new plant, a candle, or even just a clear view that lets your eyes rest. That's what we are building toward here. A home that feels like a reflection of your best self. A place where you can thrive. So, let's keep this conversation flowing. You've probably started to see how something as simple as a dead plant can carry a surprising amount of weight in your space. But what happens when you take that step to let it go? It's not just about tossing out a wilted fern and calling it a day. There's something deeper at play here, a shift in how you interact with your environment and, honestly, with yourself. Imagine you're standing in your kitchen, sipping your morning coffee. The sun's coming through the window, and you notice a pot of basil that's been brown and crispy for weeks. Every time you see it, there's this tiny pang of guilt, like you've let something slip. But what if, instead of ignoring it, you grab that pot, thank it for its time, and set it aside? You were not just clearing physical space, you were making a choice to prioritize what's alive and thriving. That's where the magic starts to happen. In spiritual traditions like Buddhism, there's this beautiful idea of creating harmony through intention. It's not about perfection or having a Pinterest-worthy home. It's about aligning your surroundings with what you want to feel and experience. When you remove a dead plant, you're saying no to stagnation and yes to possibility. It's like opening a window to let fresh air into a stuffy room. Suddenly things feel lighter, clearer, like you've pressed a reset button on your space. Now, let's get real for a second. I know life gets busy. Maybe you're juggling work, family, or just trying to keep up with the chaos of everyday life. The last thing you want is another task on your to-do list. But here's the thing. This isn't about adding more work, it's about small intentional acts that pay off in big ways. Think about a time you tidied up a corner of your home, maybe just a cluttered desk or a messy shelf. Didn't it feel like you could think more clearly afterward? That's what we're tapping into here. Removing dead plants is like decluttering your energy, and it doesn't take hours or a ton of effort. Let me tell you about my friend Leo. He's not exactly a plant guy, more of a set-it-and-forget-it type. He had this sad, droopy ivy in his apartment that he swore he'd revive someday. It sat on his coffee table, collecting dust, and every time I visited, I could tell it bugged him. One day I convinced him to let it go. We took it outside, thanked it. Yes, we got a little silly with it, and replaced it with a low-maintenance snake plant. A week later, he texted me saying his place felt alive for the first time in months. He even started sitting at that coffee table to journal, something he hadn't done in ages. That one small change sparked a ripple effect. That's what I love about this. It's so practical. You don't need to be a spiritual master or know the ins and outs of feng shui to make it work. Just start where you are. Walk around your home and notice what's not thriving. Maybe it's that orchid you got as a gift, or those dried flowers you kept because they were pretty once. Ask yourself, is this adding to my life or is it just taking up space? If it's the latter, give yourself permission to let it go. You're not failing at plant care. You're choosing to create a space that supports you. And here's a little tip to make it easier. Turn it into a ritual. In many Eastern practices, like those rooted in Zen, small actions become meaningful when you do them with mindfulness. When you're ready to let go of a dead plant, take a moment to acknowledge it. Maybe say something like, "Thank you for being here, but it's time to move on." It sounds a little out there, but it's a way of honoring the cycle of life and letting go with gratitude. Then compost it if you can, or dispose of it thoughtfully. That simple act of intention can make the process feel less like a chore and more like a step toward renewal. Now let's talk about what happens when you clear that space. It's not just about the absence of something dead, it's about what you invite in. In holistic wellness, there's this idea that your environment shapes your energy. When you remove something that's stagnant, you're creating a blank canvas for something new. Maybe you replace that dead plant with a vibrant, easy-to-care-for pothos that cascades down your shelf. Or maybe you leave the space empty for a while, letting it breathe. Either way, you're sending a message to yourself, I'm ready for growth, I'm ready for something fresh. This ties into a bigger idea in spirituality, the power of space. In Buddhism, emptiness isn't negative, it's potential. It's the quiet moment before a new idea, the open field before a seed is planted. When you clear out dead plants, you're creating that kind of space in your home and by extension in your life. It's like making room in your heart for new possibilities. And the best part? You don't have to overhaul everything at once. Start with one plant, one corner, one small choice. That's enough to get the energy moving. Speaking of energy, let's touch on something practical you can do right now. If you're feeling inspired, take a quick scan of your space. Maybe you've got a plant that's been struggling for a while, or maybe it's already beyond saving. If it's dead, don't let it sit there out of habit or guilt. Take 5 minutes, literally just 5 minutes, and move it out. If it's still got some life in it, give it a little love. Water it, move it to better light, or trim away the dead parts. These small actions aren't just about the plant. They're about showing yourself that you are capable of change. And here's something else to think about. This isn't just about plants. Dead plants are a symbol, a starting point. They are a way to notice where else in your life you might be holding on to things that aren't serving you. Maybe it's an old habit like staying up too late scrolling on your phone. Maybe it has a grudge you've been carrying or a project you started but never finished. The act of letting go of a dead plant can be a practice run for letting go of bigger things. It's like flexing a muscle. Start small and it gets easier to release what's weighing you down. What's so exciting about this is how it builds momentum. When you clear out one dead plant, you might notice other things in your space that feel heavy or out of place. Maybe it is a stack of old magazines or a piece of decor that doesn't spark joy anymore. Each little act of letting go creates a ripple effect, making your home feel more like a sanctuary. And when your home feels good, it's easier to feel good too. It's like giving yourself a fresh start without needing to move or renovate. This whole idea reminds me of something I learned from a teacher years ago. She said, "Your space is a reflection of your mind. Clear one, and you clear the other." At the time, I thought it sounded nice but kind of abstract. But when I started paying attention to my own home, when I started letting go of things that felt heavy like dead plants or clutter, it was like my thoughts got clearer too. I felt lighter, more focused, like I could actually tackle the things that mattered to me. And that is what we are building toward here. A home that feels like a partner in your growth, not a weight holding you back. It's about creating a space that lifts you up, that reminds you of what's possible. So, as we keep going, let us explore how to take this even further, how to not just clear out the old, but bring in the new in a way that feels vibrant and alive. All right, let's keep this energy flowing. We've talked about how letting go of dead plants can clear out stagnation and make room for something new. But now let's dive into what happens when you start filling that space with intention. It is like planting a seed in freshly turned soil. There is this quiet excitement about what could grow. And the beauty of it is, you don't need to be a spiritual expert or have a green thumb to make it work. It's about small, thoughtful choices that ripple outward, transforming your home and, honestly, how you feel every day. Picture this. You've just cleared out that sad, wilted plant from your living room. The shelf looks bare, but instead of feeling empty, it feels like a fresh start. What do you do next? This is where the fun begins. In spiritual practices, especially those inspired by Eastern traditions like Buddhism or Feng Shui, the act of bringing life into your space is just as important as letting go of what is dead. It is not about rushing to fill the void with just anything. It is about choosing something that resonates with you, something that feels alive and vibrant. Let me share a story. A while back, I was visiting my cousin Mia, who was going through a big life transition. She'd just moved to a new city, started a new job, and was feeling a bit lost. Her apartment was functional but kind of lifeless. There was this one corner with a dead ficus that she inherited from the previous tenant. It was like a symbol of everything she was trying to move past. One weekend, we decided to do something about it. We tossed the ficus, cleaned the spot, and went to a local market to pick out a new plant. She chose a bright, leafy monstera because it felt hopeful to her. When we set it up in her space, it was like the whole room came to life. She started smiling more, rearranging things, even playing music while she cooked. That one plant didn't fix everything, but it was a spark. A reminder that she could create a space that felt like hers. That's what I want you to think about. What's the spark for you? It doesn't have to be a plant, though plants are a great place to start because they literally bring life into a room. In holistic wellness, there's this idea that living things, like plants, flowers, or even a small herb garden, can boost your mood and energy. There's even research showing that being around greenery reduces stress and helps you feel more grounded. It's like your brain recognizes life and responds to it. So, when you replace a dead plant with something thriving, you're not just decorating. You're creating an environment that supports your well-being. Now I know what you might be thinking. I kill every plant I touch. And trust me, I've been there. I used to think I had the opposite of a green thumb. Every plant I brought home seemed to give up on me within weeks. But here is what I learned. You don't need to be a plant whisperer to make this work. Start with something low maintenance like a pothos or a snake plant. These are like the chill friends of the plant world. They don't need constant attention, just a little water and light. Place them somewhere you'll see them every day, like near your desk or on a kitchen counter. Every time you glance at them, it's a little reminder of growth, of life, of possibility. And here's where it gets really interesting. In spiritual practices, like those rooted in Zen or Ayurveda, the act of caring for something living, like a plant, can be a form of mindfulness. When you water your plant, check its leaves, or move it to catch the sunlight, you're practicing being present. You're slowing down, even for a minute, and connecting with something that's alive. It's like a mini meditation that doesn't feel like work. And over time, that small act of care starts to spill over into other parts of your life. You might find yourself being more intentional about how you start your day or how you treat yourself. Let's make this practical. If you're ready to bring some life into your space, start small. Go to a local nursery or even a grocery store with a plant section. Pick something that catches your eye. Maybe it is the shape of the leaves or the way it seems to glow in the light. Don't overthink it. Just choose something that feels good. When you bring it home, find a spot where you'll see it often. Maybe it's near your favorite chair or by the window where you drink your morning tea. Give it a little water, maybe even a name if you're feeling playful. That's it. You've just planted a seed, not just for the plant, but for yourself. Now, if plants aren't your thing, that's okay too. The point is to bring in something that feels alive and meaningful to you. Maybe it's a small fountain that bubbles gently, reminding you of flow and movement. Maybe it's a candle that you light in the evenings to create a sense of warmth. In Feng Shui, elements like water, fire, or even a vibrant piece of art can shift the energy in a room just as much as a plant can. The key is to choose something that makes you feel connected, something that says, "This space is mine, and it's alive with possibility." And here's a little tip to make it even more powerful. When you add something new to your space, set an intention for it. In Buddhist practices, intention is everything. It's not about the thing itself, it's about the meaning you give it. So when you place that new plant or light that candle, take a moment to think about what you want to invite into your life. Maybe it's peace, creativity, or courage. Say it silently to yourself. This is for joy. It's a small act, but it's like planting a seed in your heart. What's so cool about this is how it builds on itself. When you start caring for your space in this way, you start noticing other opportunities to bring in life. Maybe you open your windows more to let in fresh air. Maybe you rearrange your furniture to create a cozy nook for reading. Each choice is like a brushstroke, painting a picture of a home that supports your dreams. And the more you do it, the more natural it feels. This reminds me of something I heard from a teacher once. Your home is a living thing, it breathes with you. At first I thought it was a poetic way of saying, keep your house clean. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's true. Your home isn't just walls and furniture. It's a space that holds your energy, your hopes, your story. When you fill it with things that are alive and intentional, you're telling yourself, I'm here, and I'm ready to grow. So as we keep going, let us explore how to take this even further. How to make your space not just a place to live, but a place to thrive. There's something really exciting waiting for you on the other side of these small changes, and I can't wait to share it with you. Now that we've started to bring some life back into your space, let us talk about how this whole process can become a kind of daily practice, something that keeps you grounded and moving forward. It's not about turning your home into a jungle or becoming a plant expert overnight. It's about weaving these small intentional acts into your life in a way that feels natural, like a conversation with a good friend. When you start to see your home as a partner in your journey, something shifts. It's like you're not just living in a space, you're co-creating it. Imagine this, it's early morning and you're starting your day. You're groggy, maybe a little overwhelmed by everything on your plate. But as you walk through your living room, you notice that bright green plant you added last week. Its leaves are perky, catching the sunlight, and for a moment you pause. You give it a quick sip of water, maybe brush off a bit of dust. That tiny act, barely a minute, feels like a quiet promise to yourself. I'm showing up today. That's the kind of energy we're building here. It's not about grand gestures, it's about little moments that add up. In spiritual traditions, especially those influenced by Buddhism, there's this idea of tending to your environment as a form of self-care. Think about monks sweeping the temple steps or carefully arranging flowers for a meditation space. It's not just about cleanliness. It's about creating a space that supports clarity and peace. When you care for your plants or even just check in on the living things in your home, you're doing something similar. You're saying, this matters, I matter. And that's powerful, especially on days when life feels heavy. Let me tell you about someone I know, Anna, who really brought this to life. She was going through a tough time. Work stress, a breakup, the usual chaos of life. Her apartment was functional but kind of bleak, with a couple of dead plants she hadn't touched in months. One day she decided to start small. She tossed out the dead stuff, picked up a couple of easy care plants and made a habit of checking on them every morning. It wasn't a big deal, just a quick watering while her coffee brewed. But over time she noticed something. Those moments with her plants became a kind of anchor, a way to start her day with intention. She started feeling more in control, more hopeful. It was like those plants were reminding her that growth is possible, even when things feel tough. That's what I love about this. It's so doable. You don't need a ton of time or money to make it work. If you've already cleared out a dead plant and added something new, you're halfway there. Now it's about making it a habit. Maybe you set a reminder on your phone to water your plants once a week. Or maybe you take a moment each morning to check in with them, like saying hello to a friend. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up consistently, even in small ways. And here's where it gets really interesting. In practices like feng shui, the placement of living things in your home can amplify their impact. You don't need to be an expert, but a little thought about where you put your plants can make a big difference. For example, placing a plant in the east corner of your home, where the sun rises, is said to boost health and new beginnings. Or if you're craving more connection, try putting a plant near your front door to welcome positive energy. Even if you don't buy into the spiritual side, there's something practical here. When you place plants where you'll see them, they become a daily reminder to stay connected to life. Let's make this super simple. If you've got a new plant, think about where it feels right in your home. Maybe it's on your desk where you'll see it while you work. Maybe it's in your bedroom where it can greet you first thing in the morning. If you're not sure, experiment. Move it around until it feels like it belongs. And if you're not ready for a plant yet, that's okay. Try something else that feels alive, like a bowl of fresh fruit or a small vase of flowers from the market. The point is to surround yourself with things that spark a sense of vitality. Now, let's talk about why this matters beyond just aesthetics. In holistic wellness, there's this idea that your environment shapes your mental state. When you're surrounded by things that are thriving, whether it's a plant, a pet, or even a clean, open space, your brain picks up on those cues. It's like a signal that says, this is a place for growth. On the flip side, when you're surrounded by things that are lifeless or neglected, it can subtly pull you down. It's not about superstition. It's about how your mind and body respond to your surroundings. Here's a practical tip to keep this going. Make it part of your routine, but keep it light. Maybe you water your plants on Sunday mornings while listening to your favorite podcast. Or maybe you take a quick walk through your home once a month to check for anything that feels stagnant. It's not about adding stress. It's about creating moments of connection. And if you forget or miss a day, no big deal. The goal is progress, not perfection. This reminds me of something I learned from a yoga teacher years ago. She said, "Your space is like your breath. It's always there, but you don't always notice it. When you pay attention, it changes everything." At the time, I didn't fully get it, but now I see it. When you start tending to your space with care, it's like taking a deep breath. It centers you, grounds you, gives you a little more room to move through life with ease. And here is something else to think about. This practice of caring for your space can spill over into other areas of your life. When you get in the habit of nurturing your plants, you might start nurturing other things too, like your relationships, your creativity, or your health. It's like a domino effect. One small act of care leads to another, and before you know it, you're showing up for yourself in ways you didn't expect. What's so exciting about this is how it builds momentum. When you start with something as simple as a plant, you're not just changing your space, you're changing how you move through the world. You're creating a home that feels like a reflection of your best self, a place where you can dream big and take risks. And as we keep going, we're going to explore how to make this even more personal, so your space feels like it's truly yours. All right, let's dive a little deeper into this journey of transforming your space. We've talked about clearing out the old, bringing in the new, and making it a habit. But now let's get personal. Your home isn't just a place to crash. It is a canvas for who you are and who you're becoming. When you start to see it that way, every choice you make, from the plants you keep to the way you arrange your space, becomes a chance to tell your story. And that S, where this whole idea of avoiding dead plants really comes to life, it is not just about getting rid of what S wilted. It's about creating a space that feels like you. Think about this for a second. When was the last time you walked into a room and felt like it was speaking to you? Maybe it was a cozy cafe with warm lighting and fresh flowers, or a friend's house where everything just felt right. That's the kind of energy we're aiming for. It's not about having a perfect home or spending a fortune on decor. It's about making your space feel like a reflection of your spirit, vibrant, evolving, alive. Let me tell you about my neighbor, Javier. He's a busy guy, always on the go, and his apartment used to feel like a temporary pit stop, functional but not much else. There was this one corner with a dead palm that he'd shoved behind a chair, out of sight, out of mind. One day we got to talking, and he mentioned how he felt disconnected from his space, like it wasn't really his. So we made a plan. He ditched the palm, cleaned up the corner, and added a small jade plant because it reminded him of his grandmother's garden. He also hung a piece of art he'd been meaning to put up for months. It wasn't a huge overhaul, but the next time I stopped by, the vibe was different. He was actually spending time in that corner, reading, thinking, even sketching a little. That one change helped him claim his space in a way that felt personal. That's what I want for you, to make your space feel like it's yours. In spiritual practices, like those rooted in Buddhism or holistic wellness, there's this idea that your environment is an extension of your inner world. When you fill it with things that spark joy or meaning, like a thriving plant or a memento that makes you smile, you are creating a kind of feedback loop. Your space lifts you up, and you in turn bring more life to it. It's a beautiful cycle. So, how do you make this personal? Start by thinking about what feels alive to you. Maybe you love the lush jungle vibe of a fern, or maybe you're drawn to the sleek simplicity of a cactus. Maybe plants aren't your thing, but a colorful throw blanket or a scented candle feels like home. The key is to choose things that resonate with you, not what's trendy or what you think you should have. In Feng Shui, they talk about aligning your space with your energy, your unique vibe. So ask yourself, what makes me feel alive? What makes me feel like me? Here is a fun way to approach it. Think of your home as a story you've heard telling. Every plant, every object, every corner is a chapter. If you've got a dead plant sitting around, it's like a plot hole, something that doesn't fit the story anymore. When you replace it with something living, you're writing a new chapter. Maybe you pick a plant that reminds you of a place you love, like a lavender bush that takes you back to a summer trip. Or maybe you choose something bold, like a bright red anthurium, because you're ready to step into your confidence. Whatever it is, let it be a reflection of you. And here's a practical tip to make this easy. Start with one space that matters to you. Maybe it's the spot where you drink your coffee, or the corner where you read or work. Clear out anything that feels heavy or out of place, like that dead plant you've been ignoring, and add one thing that feels like you. It could be a plant, a photo, or even a small keepsake. Then, spend a moment there each day. Notice how it feels. That one spot can become your anchor, a place that reminds you to stay connected to yourself. In holistic wellness, there's this idea that small, intentional changes in your environment can shift your mindset. It's not just about the physical space, it's about how it makes you feel. When you surround yourself with things that are alive and meaningful, it's like giving yourself a daily dose of inspiration. You're reminding yourself that growth is possible, that joy is possible, that you are possible. And let's talk about the emotional side of this for a second. In Buddhism, there's this concept of cultivating joy through presence, finding beauty in the moment. When you care for a plant or add something meaningful to your space, you're practicing that. You're saying, I'm here and I'm choosing to create something beautiful. It's a small act of rebellion against the chaos of life, a way to carve out a little corner of peace. If you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, this can be a game changer. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need a perfect home or a perfect life. Just start with one thing, one plant, one corner, one moment. Maybe you've got a spot in your home that's been nagging at you, like a shelf with a sad, droopy plant. Take 5 minutes today to clear it out. Replace it with something that makes you smile, even if it's just a fresh flower from the grocery store. That small act is like planting a seed for bigger changes. What's so exciting about this is how it grows over time. When you start making your space feel personal, you start to feel more at home in yourself. It's like you're building a sanctuary, not just for your body, but for your dreams, your hopes, your spirit. And the best part? You don't have to do it all at once. It's about taking one step, then another, letting each choice build on the last. This reminds me of something I heard from a friend who practices Ayurveda. She said, your home is like your body. It needs care to thrive. It stuck with me because it's so true. When you nurture your space, you're nurturing yourself. And when you let go of what is dead, whether it is a plant or an old mindset, you are making room for what is alive. That as the kind of energy we carrying forward, as we keep exploring how to make your space a true reflection of you. Let us keep this momentum going and talk about how to make this practice of tending to your space a part of your life in a way that feels effortless and uplifting. We've already explored letting go of dead plants, bringing in new life, and making your space personal. But now it is about sustaining that energy, turning it into a rhythm that supports you day after day. It's like learning to dance with your home, where each step feels natural and flows into the next. Imagine it's a quiet evening, and you're winding down after a long day. You glance around your space, and instead of seeing clutter or neglect, you notice a few thriving plants, maybe a candle flickering softly, or a corner that just feels right. It's not perfect, life's never perfect, but it feels like yours, like a place where you can breathe deeply and be yourself. That is what we are building here. A home that doesn't just hold your stuff but holds your spirit too. In spiritual traditions like those rooted in Zen or holistic wellness, there's this idea of flow, keeping energy moving, not letting it get stuck. Dead plants, as we've talked about, can block that flow like a kink in a hose, but when you clear them out and replace them with living things, you're creating a current, a sense of movement. The trick is to keep that current going, not as a chore but as a kind of gift to yourself. It's about finding a rhythm that feels good, like a morning stretch or a favorite song you hum without thinking. Let me share a story about my friend Tara. She's a single mom, always juggling a million things, and her home used to feel like a constant to-do list. There was this one dead orchid on her kitchen counter that she kept because it felt like giving up to toss it. One day she decided enough was enough. She let go of the orchid, replaced it with a sturdy little zee plant, and made a deal with herself. Every Sunday she'd spend 5 minutes checking on her plants while her kid played nearby. It wasn't a big commitment, but it became her moment of peace, a way to slow down and reconnect with her space. Over time, she started adding other small rituals, like opening the windows to let in fresh air, or rearranging a shelf to make it feel fresh. Those little moments became her way of hitting reset, no matter how chaotic life got. That is what I want for you. A way to make this practice yours without it feeling like another task. It's not about adding pressure, it's about finding joy in the process. In Buddhism, there's this concept of right effort, doing things with intention but without forcing it. When you care for your space, whether it's watering a plant or clearing out something that feels heavy, you're practicing that kind of effort. It's gentle, it's kind, and it's sustainable. So, how do you make this a part of your life? Start by anchoring it to something you already do. Maybe you check on your plants while your coffee is brewing, or while you re-listening to music in the evening. Keep it simple. 5 minutes a week is enough to start. Walk through your home and notice what's thriving and what's not. If a plant's struggling, give it a little love. Move it to better light, trim the dead leaves, or decide if it's time to let it go. If it's thriving, take a moment to appreciate it, that's it. You're not trying to win a gardening award, you're just showing up for your space. And here is a little trick to make it even more meaningful. Tie it to how you want to feel. In holistic practices like Ayurveda or Feng Shui, your environment is seen as a tool for balance. If you're craving calm, maybe add a lavender plant or a soft blue vase to your space. If you're looking for energy, try something bold, like a bright pothos or a splash of color. Each time you tend to your plants or adjust your space, think about what you're inviting in: peace, creativity, joy. It's like setting an intention for your day, but through your home. Now, let's talk about what happens when you keep this going. Over time, these small acts start to shift how you see your space. It's not just a place to eat, sleep, and work. It's a sanctuary, a place that reflects your growth. You might notice you're more intentional in other areas of your life too. Maybe you start eating a little healthier, or you carve out time for a hobby you love. It's like your home becomes a partner, cheering you on as you move toward the life you want. And here's something practical to try. Create a living corner in your home. It doesn't have to be big, just a small space where you keep things that feel alive and inspiring. Maybe it's a shelf with a couple of plants, a candle, and a book you love. Or maybe it's a windowsill with a tiny herb garden. Make it a spot you visit regularly, even for a moment. In spiritual practices, having a dedicated space for mindfulness, whether it is a meditation cushion or a corner with plants, can ground you, especially on tough days. What's so cool about this is how it evolves. As you get into the rhythm of caring for your space, you might start noticing other ways to bring in life. Maybe you add fresh flowers once a month or swap out heavy curtains for something lighter. Each choice builds on the last, creating a home that feels more and more like you. And the more you do it, the easier it gets to let go of what's not serving you, not just in your space, but in your life. This reminds me of something I heard from a teacher once. Your home is a mirror of your heart. It sounds poetic, but it's true. When you care for your space, you're caring for yourself. You're saying, I deserve a place that feels good, that lifts me up. And that's not selfish, it's essential. It's how you recharge, how you keep going, how you create a life that feels meaningful. So as we head toward the final part of this conversation, let us talk about how to bring it all together, how to make your space a true reflection of your dreams, and how to keep this energy alive in a way that feels joyful and sustainable. There's something really special waiting for you, and I can't wait to share it. Here we are wrapping up this journey together, and I'm so excited to bring it all home with you. We've talked about letting go of dead plants, inviting in new life, making your space personal, and turning it into a daily practice. Now, let us tie it all together with a final piece that is all about embracing this process as a way to live more fully, more vibrantly, in a space that lifts you up. It is not about chasing perfection or turning your home into a showroom. It is about creating a sanctuary that grows with you, step by step, moment by moment. Picture this. It's a new day and you're moving through your home with a sense of ease. There's a little plant on your windowsill, its leaves catching the morning light. Maybe you've added a small touch, a colorful pot, a photo that makes you smile, or even just a clear space where you can sit and breathe. Your home doesn't have to be flawless, but it feels alive, like it's rooting for you. That's the goal here, a space that feels like a warm hug, a place where you can dream, rest, and grow. In spiritual traditions like Buddhism, there's this beautiful idea of living with intention, not forcing things, but moving through life with purpose and care. When you let go of dead plants and bring in living ones, you're practicing that intention. You're saying, I'm choosing to surround myself with life. And the best part, you don't have to do it all at once. This isn't about a massive overhaul or a race to get it right. It's about small, consistent choices that add up over time, like drops of water filling a cup. Let me share one last story. My friend Maya was always skeptical about this kind of stuff. She thought talk about energy and plants was a bit woo-woo, but she was feeling stuck, like her life was on pause. Her apartment had a few dead plants she'd ignored forever, and one day she decided to humor me. She cleared them out, picked up a couple of easy care plants and started paying attention to her space. Nothing crazy, just watering them when she remembered, moving them to catch the light. A few weeks later, she told me something had shifted. She was sleeping better, feeling more creative, even tackling projects she'd been avoiding. It wasn't just the plants. It was the act of caring for her space that helped her care for herself. It was like she'd given herself permission to grow again. That's what I want for you. You don't need to believe in every spiritual idea or follow every rule. Just start where you are. Walk through your home today and look for one thing that feels heavy. Maybe a dead plant, maybe something else. Let it go with kindness, no guilt. Then add one thing that feels alive, whether it's a plant, a flower, or something that sparks joy. Make it a small ritual, a moment of connection. Over time, those moments will weave together, creating a space that feels like a true reflection of you. In holistic wellness, there's this idea that small changes in your environment can ripple into your life. When you surround yourself with life, plants, light, things that inspire you, you're creating a foundation for growth. It's like giving yourself a daily reminder that you're capable of change, of joy, of thriving. And in practices like feng shui, keeping your space vibrant is about keeping the energy flowing, so you're not stuck in a loop of stagnation or sadness. Here's a final tip to make this stick. Celebrate your progress. Every time you water a plant, clear a corner, or add something new, give yourself a little nod. You're doing this. You're showing up for yourself. And if you forget or fall behind, that's okay. Life's messy, and this isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. In Buddhism, there's this saying, the journey is the destination. Every step you take to care for your space is a step toward a life that feels more alive, more yours. So, if any of this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below and tell me. What's one thing you letting go of? Or one thing you're bringing into your space? It could be a plant, a memory, or just a feeling. I read every comment, and it means the world to know what's sparking for you. And hey, if you enjoyed this and want more conversations like this, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell. It's the best way to keep this energy going, and it helps me keep creating content like this for you. Before we go, let's close with this. You don't need big changes to live better. Sometimes it's one small choice, a plant, a moment, a breath that lights the way. You deserve a space that lifts you up, that reminds you of what's possible. You're worth it. And if you've made it this far, you're already in it. So comment below, "I'm in this," just to let me know you're with me. I can't wait to see what you create in your space and in your life. Keep growing, keep shining, and I'll see you in the next one.